And the next thing is the skirt. So with the skirt, we're going to start with the circle piece. I'm going to flip it over because, again, I only colored one side of these, so we want the white to be in the inside. So I'm going to fold this in half. You can see how nice my cutting was by how much white is sticking out. It's not too bad. And then unfold and crease it in the other way so we have it in quarters. And then you're going to crease those again. So basically we're going to crease it in quarters and then quarters the other direction. Just use your center point kind of as your guide to make your folds. Try and line up your creases if you can. It's a little tricky when you have colored pencil in the way, but it will work. So once we have all of these creases on our paper, what we're going to do is flip this back over and make sure that all of these are folded mountain folds, basically. So what we're going to do is take it and just kind of fold in half this way, each one of them, just to make sure that we have them all facing the same way. So the next step is we're going to keep it folded in half, and now we're going to start with the pleats. So the pleats take a little bit of practice, but they're not very hard. So what we're going to do is take this crease and fold it part way into this next one. So you just kind of take it and pleat it over. So of course, if you've seen a pleated skirt, you kind of know how it's supposed to look, right? Once you're done, you have this like layered type of fold. If you look at the bottom here, you can kind of see how they're layered. So we're just going to keep doing that over the one next to it, and then again, and again, and then once you get to this last pleat, basically, to make up your half, it's a little bit harder than the rest of them, but also not really if you don't overthink it. It always gives me a little bit of trouble, but not too bad. So this one we just kind of crease over, and we just want to make sure that it folds a little bit and it also just goes flat there. I don't know why that one always gives me problems, but it's not hard. So now that we have our skirt completed, it should fit nicely into this little hole and the bottom of our bodice. So when we stick that in, it should fit all the way. If you see, like mine, it's leaving a little gap over here. What you can do is just take this, fold down the tip, and it should reach all the way. So now that I have that in, I'm also just going to put a dab of glue on the inside just to hold the skirt in place. If you are using these for a card, you probably won't need to do this because you'll just glue down the back. But if you're hanging it or using it as a bookmark, anything basically that doesn't involve gluing down the whole back, you will want to glue it together so that it doesn't come apart on you. I have hot glue strings all over me. That is fine. So now we basically have the dress. The only thing that we're missing is the bow. So for this I have just a pink piece of paper. It's not quite the right pink for Sailor Moon's outfit, but it's as close as I have. If you're coloring the template, color both sides to be sure, otherwise you will have white bits left on your bow, which you could always just color in at the end to match the rest of it if you wanted to do that instead. This one I just traced it onto a double-sided piece of paper to make my life easier, but you can do whatever you want to. So the first thing that we're going to do with this bow is we're going to crease along these 4 lines. So you start with the diagonals, and then along the 2 straight lines. Okay, so once those are creased, we're going to open this, and then I like to fold this back just a little bit so it makes it easier to just collapse these two corners in, flatten it down into a square base. So now you have your little diamond with the open end down here, closed points up here. So once we have that, we're going to fold this down, just the tip, just a little bit. So crease that well, and then we're going to open this up completely. So now you can kind of see how you have your normal creases, and then there's also this little square in the middle. So what we want to do with that square is just reinforce that square back, just all of those creases. You want to kind of fold them back so it makes your next step easier. Okay. Once you have that back, you're going to collapse in basically along that square. So you're going to take your corners, pull this in, kind of fold here, and make sure that you keep these creases where they are. So you see how that kind of folds naturally along that point. Just crease them in. And once you get it down like that, you'll see that your diamond in the middle, your square, kind of starts to dip down. So that's basically what we're going to do, is we're just going to help it down along all the sides, and it just collapses in on itself. So you have your little dip in the middle with your diamond, or with your square, and then the rest of your diamond is there with the little flat top. So once you have that, you're going to fold these little tips into the middle. So we just take this, kind of fold it diagonal down, and then flat. So you have that. It's a little harder to see, so I'll bring it up close. These little tiny folds are hard. Okay, so let's flip this over, do the same thing here. Fold that down, do it on this side also. And then the last one. So then you have all four of your sides like that. Now the next step seems a little intimidating. It is a lot easier than it sounds. We're going to just open it completely to lay flat. So you want to keep these folds intact. So when you start pulling it out, you'll notice that these two kind of folds want to go on top, so we just kind of flatten that. Your square in the middle will naturally pull down into the center of your bow. Just gently flatten that down, flatten all the sides, and that's done. So you have the basic shape of your bow now formed, with the little center here. And the back will look like that. So the next step, what we're going to do is flip it onto this side, and we're going to cut along these little creases. So just this top creases. I have these little itty bitty scissors that make it a little bit easier. Regular scissors will also work for this. You just have to be gentle, just slip them into the side, right in this crease right here, this first one, and just cut that top crease. So once you have that, you can open that there, and you'll kind of see how that looks. So this gives you the first part, and then we go around and we cut all four of them. So once you have both on one cut, you'll see that it just kind of folds up into a little petal. And flip it around, fold that, and then cut this last one. Okay, so once we have all of that, we want to flip one of these top petals over, and we're going to fold this into the center to make kind of the basic shape of our bow. I'm going to fold this, take it to the middle, so it looks like that. And then we're going to do the same on the bottom. So then once we get this two sides folded in, we're going to flip both of these little petals to the other side and do the same thing on this side. So I'm going to spin this to make it a little easier. Fold that in like that, and then do the other one. So once we have this, we're going to open up our petals again, and we're going to cut along this center crease. This is where I like my nice big scissors. So I can get a semi-straight line, just cut it all the way to the center, or close to the center, not quite all the way through so you still have them attached. Now we cut through, and there's that. So now we have 4 separate little leaves here. So we're going to fold both of these down so that they're on the same side. And then we're going to fold along here. So we're just going to fold like a little diagonal crease over, just to give it a bit of a nicer shape, like that. Fold this one the same out so that they look like that. So when we flip this over, you can kind of see how that is going to look. Once we do that, we're going to cut off the ends of this little bow. So because I am doing Sailor Moon, they have straight bows on the bottom, so I'm just going to cut off the end like that, so it has just a little straight line. If you wanted to, it also looks kind of cute if you do like a diagonal so it comes out with a triangular cut, whatever type of bow that you want to make. And then the last thing we're going to do is to fold these points under to the middle. To give it that final bow shape. And then, oops, that one came out a little bit crooked. There we go. And just kind of even them out, however you want it to look. This bow, I folded a tiny bit crooked, so you can just snip off anything that you don't want to be there. There we go. And there is our bow. So now we just need to attach it. So really, you can just glue it on and it will stay fine. There is also ways of attaching it with a pin. If you have one of those little push pins, not a push pin, the ones with the solid end that you fold out to hold folders in place. If anyone knows what I'm talking about. You can slip that under there, open the back so it lays flat here. You'll have, it's a grommet, I think it's called. But either way, the glue is the easiest. Once you glue that in place, you have your completed dress. So now I just need to make the rest of them.